What's up, everybody? We're here at Comic-Con 2016. I'm Damon, this is Jim. We are joined by Fede Alvarez, director of the upcoming movie Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe, you may have seen his previous film, Evil Dead. Fede, welcome back. Now, your new movie, Don't Breathe, I love the premise of this movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these kids decide to break into this old blind guy's house. They hear he's got some money stashed under a mattress somewhere. But when they get inside, they realize he's not a helpless old blind man. He's actually a cold-blooded killer, and now they're trapped inside, trying to be as quiet as possible so he doesn't find them and kill them. Does that pretty much wrap it up?
You pretty much sum it up.
No,
yeah,
cool.
saying more than that would be spoiling the whole movie. But
Yeah.
yes, that's kind of the premise of the movie, and it's really one of those that if you think you know what it is about, you're probably wrong. So that's kind of how it started.
At least, yeah, that's how you're presenting
that's
it.
how you start.
As
Yeah,
of right
that's
now.
definitely where it starts.
Can you talk about basically turning the audience's sympathy around? It's built in to be it's an old blind man, and just having fun with like taking what is your natural human inclination, which is to have sympathy for somebody, and then completely making them afraid of this guy. And
Well, part of the trick was to get Stephen Lang from Avatar to play the blind man. If I was you, don't call him old man to his face.
Nope.
It's not good
No
for your health.
he's ripped.
But
Don't mess with him.
it really is part of the magic of the movie that at first that's the impression everybody gets. Like it's just a blind man, and not just the kids in the movie, but the audience also kind of underestimate him. And then it's really marvelous to see him turning from that guy into a cold-blooded hunter, which they're in his house, so he has the legal right to hunt them down in a way. And it's what makes the movie very interesting for me, because though he has the right to do what he's doing, you kind of sympathize with the kids as well, and it becomes this game about who you're rooting for kind of thing, right?
Well, speaking of game, I mean, it sounds a lot like a literal cat and mouse game. What can you talk about? Just kind of developing the layout of the house and sort of the geography of knowing where to go and how to trap these characters.
Well, it's kind of the last thing you want to do in a horror movie, and one of the things that piss off the audience the most is when they go into the wrong direction, right? When they run upstairs when they should go through a door, when they go downstairs when they should stay where they are, when they decide to talk out loud when they should be quiet, right? So that was definitely, to your question, it was definitely one of the challenges, and we were really trying to create a house that is also in a way like the Minotaur maze, right? And being the blind man, the Minotaur. And these kids are really trying to get out of there, but it becomes trickier than what it seems. And for us, the challenge was definitely keep it as real as we could, and combined with the work with the actors and myself, like make sure that all the decisions they made was exactly like what you would do. Like if you were there, I will go for that window, and they do that, and then it's not a great idea. So you feel like, oh, I wouldn't survive in that place a second, and that's kind of the fun of the game of the movie, right?
Well, can you talk about developing sort of the visual style for a movie that is, largely supposed to be set in the dark too. So can you talk? That's a particular challenge right there of not having the same vibe to each scene. So
well, that talks to there's a particular scene in the movie, which is when really the tables are turned, and is when all the lights goes out, right? And that's when you realize that being facing a blind man wasn't something that made it easier. It's actually harder because he doesn't need the light, never needed it. But you do, so suddenly everything changes. And for me, it was really a challenge of creating a long scene of the movie where it was complete darkness, right? And how do you do that? And you should watch the movie to see if it works for you, but it's something that is never done before, and it works pretty well for me. It's pretty interesting.
The whole idea of the Stephen Lang character to me sounds like, what if when Daredevil gets old, he just decides to become a killer?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I got all the tricks up my sleeve.
Yeah, that's basically what you get. It's an older version of him, like being very pissed off because they're trying to get his money. Yeah.
Now, you're working with Jane Levy again,
Yes.
your star from Evil Dead.
Exactly.
Can you talk about just working with her again? Did you write this for her in mind? Or?
No, I did not. I don't cast while I write. Not until the script is done that I start thinking who I'm going to cast. But she was the first one to read the script, and we're good friends. We're always good friends before making the movies. We make the movies, we hate each other, and then we decide to make another movie together. It's not that I hate each other. She hates me, which is different.
Yeah.
And
You put her through the ringer and things.
Yeah, and she has all the reasons to do that. And and hopefully, as while the movies, are good, if the movies are good and she's proud of them, we'll continue doing them.
Awesome. I also wanted to ask about the movie is set in Detroit, but did I read this right? You shot in Hungary?
Well, yeah, I mean, Hollywood is not in Hollywood anymore, and everybody's saying that. Always, like, we should try to bring Hollywood back to LA, and it's been, we try, and some movies are actually shot in LA. The reality is, like, most movies are outside the state sometimes. There's a thing, Atlanta or New Orleans, that's the place that you shoot the most. And in this case, we build all the sets, we build reproductions of the houses, of the main house in Hungary, but then all the exteriors of the movie and everything that happens outside is actually in Detroit in location, and we actually went to where the house of the blind man was, and we found that house and we shot around that. So it's pretty real in that aspect, yeah.
Do you mind me asking? I'd read that you had 2 game movies in development, Dantes Inferno and Monsterpocalypse.
It's true.
Do you have any status updates on those?
On Dantes Inferno, we've always been trying to find a way to do it for a budget that is not insane, because I've been so far managed to get away with what I want to do in movies. Like the 2 movies I've done are exactly my cut, and what I do is I'm not a filmmaker that would complain about, oh, the studio crushed my vision, and nothing like that. Those movies you saw is exactly what I wanted, and if something doesn't work, it's because of my fault and not someone else that'll tell me what to do and misleading me. So I'm always careful about going to the bigger studio movies, even though I was tempted at some point. But it's really one of the things that if you want to be an author, create movies that are original and new, and really, like in Don't Breathe, try to go to places that nobody went before. Like, it's hard to make that if you're spending $150 million. So yes, those movies, we'll develop them, and hopefully if I find a way to make them in a context where I can really do my movie and not someone else's movie, I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, are there particular elements of the Dantes Inferno game that you feel like are must-haves for the movie?
Well, it's really different from the game, honestly. It goes a bit more to what the original poem was and what's the mythology on the original story of Dantes Inferno. And it takes some ideas from the game, but it's more, I think story-wise, it's more similar to the classic story.
Oh, okay. And how does one do a Monsterpocalypse movie? I mean, I have no idea where you would start.
Well,
I'm just curious.
It's basically, it was a game that Tim Burton was going to make a movie out of it at some point, and because Pacific Rim was too similar to what he wanted to do, he decided not to do it. And the producers approached me and asked me, "What you want to give it a shot?" And we had a completely different take, which soon you'll hear about it soon. It's more of a post-apocalyptic monster movie, and it's a bit more of an apocalypse now in the world of monsters. So that's why it's Monsterpocalypse now.
Do we have time for another question?
Yeah, a couple more. I wanted to ask, Don't Breathe actually premiered early this year at South by Southwest. Yeah. What was the reaction like?
It was amazing. It's so far, look, I had the chance to show it a couple times to a big audience, and I'm always mind blown by the reaction. So it's just because the movie brings a lot of anarchy to what the classic horror movies that you see in the cinemas these days bring. It's just, it goes to very unique places that, again, I cannot tell you because I will spoil it to you, but it has a couple of scenes where you'll be in theater and your jaw will be dropping and you will go like, I cannot believe they're doing that. Yeah. And that's what I like to see when I go to see a horror movie, because horror's always been about that, about really pushing the boundaries and doing something that it's, I don't want to swear here, but you know what I mean. Going really to a place.
Awesome.
Your last film, Evil Dead, was just a little bit gory, I thought.
A little.
How would you rate the gore level in Don't Breathe? I know it's not a horror movie.
Not a gory. Well,
like,
it is a horror movie. It is a horror thriller, but it's not gory. It's all about the suspense.
Yeah.
It has but it's very taboo as well. Like the gore on Evil Dead was not just gory, it was taboo-ish, right?
Yeah.
There was some things that you go like, oh, it's kind of wrong.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens again on this movie, but on a different level. It's not real about the blood. There's other fluids that I won't tell you about it. But,
God. All right, well, we're going to get to see all those fluids on August 26th. August 26th when Don't Breathe is in theaters. Fede, thank you so much for coming by today.
Thank you guys for having me again.
Stay tuned. Much more to come from Comic-Con 2016 here at IGN.